If you're a parent running into difficulty communicating with your teen, then you've found the right video. Maybe you're running into situations where they're not really talking to you. You're finding it hard to get into their life. Or when you do ask them questions, you get a yes or no answer, or maybe an I don't know, or a series of grunts, sighs, and eye rolls. If that's the kind of stuff that you're running into, stay with me here. We're going to give you 3 tips on how to empower communication with your teen. Somewhere sprinkled in, I'm going to also provide 2 more habits that, if you can implement them effectively, have the power to strengthen your relationship and deepen the connection that you have with your teen. My name is Dustin York. I am a licensed registered mental health counselor intern in the state of Florida. And while I am a therapist, I am not your therapist. If for some reason you're trying to do this stuff or running into communication problems and not able to get success, I highly recommend that you find a therapist close to you. Main thing for these videos is that I'm using them for advertising, entertainment, and education for folks like you that are looking for help. So before I go into the 3 tips, the first thing that I want to say is that typically when I work with parents and teens, I hear 2 things. I hear the parents say, my kid won't talk to me, and I hear the teen say, my parents won't listen to me. So right there, we're missing each other. So with that, the first tip I would provide is asking them open questions. And I'll provide an example here. But open questions are typically going to be your how questions, what questions, and sometimes why, but you want to be careful with why, because it can sound like you're questioning somebody's ability. So a how question would be, how are things going with your homework? Instead of asking a yes or no question of, did you get your homework done? An open question for that would be, how are things going with your homework? You could also ask, what did you have for dinner, rather than did you eat dinner, which would be a yes or no question. So those are 2 examples of how you could apply providing open questions. If you're going to use a why, I suggest putting some kind of qualification before it, which would be saying something like, that's a pretty good idea. Why did you think of doing it that way? That way it comes across as you're already reinforcing that you're impressed or supporting what they did, and then wanting more clarification on how they did it. So that's tip 1, is going to be asking those open questions instead of questions that just get shut down. So number 2 is going to be reflective listening. And this is something that I use with all types of family communication, couples communication, parents and teens. And so you could probably find a lot of other resources out there, but for some examples of reflective listening, if you ask that question of, how are things with your homework? And they said, everything's good with my homework. You'd say, okay, so I'm hearing from you that everything is good with your homework. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? And so it gives you an opportunity to just reflect back what you're hearing. They said their homework was good. I'm replying back, I'm hearing that it's good. Can you tell me more about that? And maybe they tell you, I got it all done, or I got everything done even though I had some trouble in math. Oh, awesome. I'm hearing that you got everything done, but you were having a little bit of trouble with math. Am I understanding that right? And so that's just an example of how you could use reflective listening. And really it's not about you as the parent. It's more about them as the teen being able to communicate what they have that's going on. And this will open a pathway for you to have dialogue that goes back and forth. And so the final tip that I have here before going into the 2 habits is going to be to resist the urge to solve problems. And the reason I say this is because a lot of times we run into a situation where maybe a teen will come to us and they will convey some information. Like they say, you know what, I broke up with my girlfriend today and I'm upset. And so rather than reflecting back, hey, I'm hearing you broke up with your girlfriend today and you're upset, can you tell me more about that? We like to solve the problem based off of our experience in the world. Oh man, that's a bummer that your girlfriend broke up with you. There's plenty of more fish in the sea. Or you're better than she was anyway. It shuts down the conversation. It sets things up in a way that says, here's the statement that needs to be provided on this topic, and I don't need to hear anything else from you. But if we went into that and didn't solve the problem and used those open questions and that reflective listening, we would engage in more of a dialogue. We'd get more responses and more communication from our team. So that's just one example. It's a strong urge that we have as parents. I raised 2 kids. I have a 27 and an 18-year-old, and we do want to solve problems for them. The other thing I would say that helps your kids if you resist that urge is you start to challenge them in ways to become their own problem solvers. So by asking them open questions, reflecting back to them what you're hearing, and putting them in a position to solve their problems with a little bit of communication and influence from you, sets them up to be a better problem solver when they grow up and move out of the home. And so now I'm going to hit 2 quick items here that are extremely important and we hear about all the time. But it's much easier said than done. I think a lot of this stuff, even all those tips are great, but they're much easier said than done. So the big things for habits for parents to ensure stronger connection, the first one is going to be consistency. And what I would say is, a lot of times I run into parents who say, I've tried the reflective listening and it didn't work. And I believe them. I believe they tried it and maybe they ran into some issues and it didn't work. So the argument there is going to be, if we can do it consistently for weeks, months, and start to become a consistent resource for our team to come to and talk to, and they understand how we're going to respond, they'll become more and more comfortable in having that communication with us. So as time goes on, they get more comfortable. If you're finding yourself stuck in this area, this is a great opportunity to find yourself a therapist that can help you with that style of communication, because that consistency works. And I'll use an example of even yourself. If you had an employer, right, a boss at work or a manager that you went to some days and they were pretty cool, told you what needed to be done, followed up in a reasonable way, and didn't really push hard, you go, okay, that boss is pretty cool. If occasionally, once every couple of weeks, they were just the worst boss in the world, maybe raised their voice at you, constantly checked on everything you were doing, and they were inconsistent, 1 day a week, 2 days out of the 2 days out of the week, they're inconsistent, or they're mean, and then 3 or 4 days they're consistently nice. You start to isolate, you start to hold back, you start to pull back from that communication. Teens are no different. If they see that lack of consistency or that variable response, they're gonna isolate, they're gonna withhold rather than try to navigate inconsistent support. And then finally, the last one I would say is empathy. And empathy is an incredible habit to get into, and one of the things that we probably fail the most at. And the reality is we look at something that our kid is struggling with. We're an adult. We've struggled through it. It's easy for us to go, well, if I were in that situation, I would do X. And if the minute we say that, 1, we're providing them advice, but 2, we're invalidating their position, right? We're saying, yeah, you're telling me you feel sad or you're upset or this thing is bothering you, and I'm telling you there's an easy solution and you shouldn't be bothered by it. And what happens when we don't practice empathy effectively is that will also kind of shut down their ability to come and feel comfortable to talk to us. So the best way to do that is to try to really think, yeah, I've got a lot of experience. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on and what my teen is feeling right now. So the best thing you could do in that moment, if you have that feeling, is ask a how or what question that helps bring them into that discussion. Hey, I had breakups when I was younger. I'm hearing from you right now that you had a breakup, and that it bugged me big time when it happened to me. What's going on for you right now with that? And then they can answer back to you and you can provide them a response. So providing that type of environment for them is going to help them feel comfortable in communicating and do things to improve your relationship. So with all that said, quick little recap for you. Open questions, reflective listening, avoiding or resisting the urge to solve problems for them. 2 major habits that you can start to implement are going to be consistency and empathy. Providing that empathy will go a long ways. And again, if you run into issues, you get stuck with this stuff, find yourself a mental health counselor in your area that can help. Thank you very much. I hope you find this video helpful and have a great day.